Right.
Nerdy news.
Nerdy news. We've got a pretty chill one this week. There's not actually too much drama, which is actually quite nice. It's just
Nice
news.
change. Yeah.
Yeah. Eric Kripke, the showrunner for The Boys, has called for Emmy Awards for Antony Starr's performance as Homelander, especially after episode 4 of this season. Now, we're recording this on Wednesday. Episode 4 hasn't been out yet for us.
Yes, this is true.
But Eric Kripke said, if you think Antony Starr's good now, and we all do, he should have already won awards. After watching episode 4, give this man an award. By the sounds of it, Antony Starr, who has done a phenomenal job throughout this entire show as Homelander and does absolutely deserve his flowers. If Eric Kripke, who's been working on the show since day one, is like episode 4, Antony is just the best he's ever been, I'm very excited to watch this episode.
Same. I saw this and I was like, oh, we're in for a treat with episode 4 then.
Exactly that. It's going to be very, very good. And I cannot wait to see what we get from it. Slightly sadder news. Well, sadder when I wrote it. It's good news now, or better news. The GOAT, Sir Ian McKellen.
Yes.
Has accidentally hurt himself in a stage show in London after falling off a stage. The heartbreaking bit of news which I saw was apparently people in the front row, or a couple of rows back, heard him screaming, "Ow, my arms, help me," which apparently left a lot of patrons really upset.
Well, so apparently he fell on the front row.
Was it on the front row? So he didn't fall in the gap?
So it's a smaller theatre. And apparently it was like he misstepped at the edge, lost his footing, whatever, and fell onto the people on the front row. So, I mean, imagine being that person to have Ian McKellen just fall onto you. But then, I imagine if you're falling onto, like, the chairs and stuff and you trap your arm in the wrong way, like, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
According to the statement they put out, like, he's fractured his wrist, but he's a good spirit, and he's looking forward to get
there was
back.
a tweet out on his Twitter account today, which was good. It's written like it's from him. I assume his account is managed.
Well, yeah, he'll have said it to someone to.
Yeah. So what he said was, "I want to thank everyone for their kind messages and support. Since the accident during a performance of Player Kings last night, my injuries have been diagnosed and treated by a series of experts, specialists, and nurses working for the National Health Service. Shout out the NHS. To them, of course, I'm hugely indebted. They have assured me that my recovery will be complete and speedy, and I'm looking forward to returning to work." That was really scary, though, when I opened Twitter and I just saw Sir Ian McKellen rush to hospital. My heart has never sunk so fast.
Ian McKellen falling off stage, and I'm like, let's be honest, Ian McKellen is not young.
Yeah.
Elderly people on big falls, like, break a hip, you break something serious, like, that is a long road of recovery.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, please no. But then the fact that it was just a fractured wrist, and it wasn't like it was like a slight, obviously he fell off stage, is pretty bad, but like not as bad as it could have been at like a bigger theatre. Yeah, thankful that the man's all right.
And the man is such a true performer. He's like, "I'll be back soon, don't worry." You got to love the fact that at his age. Yeah, exactly. This is the point. At his age, he's still acting in stage shows. This is Ian McKellen, for fuck's sake. This man is a superstar. Well, that's the thing. And he's like, "I will do any stage show you give me."
He loves theatre so much, like he'll do any. And it's like, it's only a few films that he will now come back to cinema for.
Yeah. Well, he said he'd come back and play Gandalf.
Yeah, so he was like, he's like, "I'll always come back as Gandalf as long as they want me."
Yeah.
That's how he worded
Someone asked him about the recent one. He was like, "If I'm still alive, I'll do it." Which was really sad. I never ever want to hear him talk about death. God, if you take Sir Ian McKellen, I will come up there myself and fight you.
It's going to be a sad day.
It will be the saddest of days. But that day is not today. He is healing well. Shawn Levy, director of the Deadpool films, has shown interest in doing a Deadpool and Spider-Man film. This has been reached some mixed reactions on the internet. Okay. So, ironically, Deadpool's first 2 films have been around long enough now that the internet has flipped and decided they hate Deadpool, which has happened in the last few weeks. It always happens. So I saw someone tweet a Deadpool and a Tom Holland, Ryan Reynolds, Shawn Levy Deadpool and Spider-Man film. Sounds like the most insufferable thing ever. Cool. What? I don't know. What I will say is there's a very artistic way to do this. You shoot this film and you do a Deadpool edit and a Spider-Man edit.
Okay.
So the parents who will just take their kids to see a film like Spider-Man's name in it and not think, can't complain if they're idiots and take their kid to the Deadpool edit that's going to be rude and rated R. And then you have the safe edit, which is Spider-Man edit, which will have comedy in it, obviously, but they'll cut around stuff to make it seem a little bit funky, and then you get to watch them both if you want to, and you're like, cool, it's the same story. Everything, all the beats are the same, but one of them is Deadpool being Deadpool, and one of them is Spider-Man like censoring Deadpool. And I think there is an artistic value to that.
Probably. I just want them to do it R-rated, and the parents that complain, the internet will laugh at them for taking their kids to an R-rated film because they should have known better.
But the problem is, and I do think there is a little bit of validness to a parent feeling safe taking their child to see a film like Spider-Man in the title. I do think there's a bit of validity to that. Don't get me wrong, parents should absolutely check what they're buying tickets to. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but there are certain things that I don't like. When I see it, I'm like, I can see how a parent got confused there, but it's important to do your own research. The ones that piss me off when parents took their kids to see the first and second Deadpool film, it's like, Marvel film. Okay, but do your fucking research. But if Spider-Man's in the title, I can, like, a grandparent especially, you could see how they could fall for that.
Do you know what they should do? They should just call it a Deadpool film.
And just have Tom Holland rock up.
And just, and do the thing where, like, they have to swap suits or whatever. And it's actually just a Deadpool film, but he's just in Spider-Man suit for the whole time.
That would be really funny.
So Tom Holland shows up at like the beginning, and for some reason he can't be Spider-Man, so then Deadpool's doing it. And the film is just Deadpool as Spider-Man.
But yeah, so that was an interesting one. Yeah. And I do think there's a validity to it, but it'd be a difficult one to make work for sure. Jordan Peele has released the date for his next film. He says it'll be coming out October 23rd, 2026 via a cryptic tweet, which was just like a red and whitish poster with the date on it. With the news that Jordan Peele had met with Marvel and that the Blade director has left the project, I am going to huff all of the copium I can get my hands on and say that is going to be revealed at D23 as the new Blade release date.
I mean,
how hype would that be? Imagine me and you were keeping it on D23 and we see that Blade's been pushed back to October 23rd, 2026. Do you not lose your mind?
Do you know what would be funny is if they show that exact same image, that same font or whatever, and it's the date again, and we're like, wait a second, that's the same font, wait. And it's the same date.
Like, how hype would that be?
I mean,
I don't think it is, but I'm going to keep huffing that code.
But there is a possibility there, right? We know he met about X-Men and it didn't work, and then very shortly after, there's the news that the Blade, like, there's nothing to say that after that they were like, hang on, we've just met with Jordan Peele, bring him back up.
There is no such thing as a coincidence.
Like,
it's massive copium. I don't expect it to happen, but you best believe if it does happen, I'm going to point back at this moment and go, I'm a genius. I called it.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
It'd be so hard. Anyway, Charlie Cox has confirmed that fans who love Daredevil's now iconic one-shot fight scenes won't be disappointed by Daredevil Born Again. Let's go.
Connor is happy.
Mate, you can't tell me they're not elite.
Oh,
it's very, very exciting. Ironically, another film that had a hallway one-shot sequence is up next. A Blue Beetle animated series is in the work, according to Deadline, and it will act as a continuation to last year's film.
I think they'll use that as a way to tie him into the DCU.
Well, what James Gunn said is with the DCU, there's going to be live action, animated, and video games, and they are all going to be the same actor voicing and doing the live action throughout all. This feels like the first start of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we are presuming because it's continuation, they'll keep. Hopefully, they do indeed keep all the same actors and actresses.
Yes.
And this, like you said, this is the start of them doing that blend between animated and live action, all being cohesive and in the same universe.
And Blue Beetle was a stunning film. As with his power set in animation, they've got some room to have some fun. I'm excited to see where they go with it.
It also helps if they go to animation and people are like, oh, this is Blue Beetle from the DCU, the animated visual style, bring it back into live action, they can like tweak from the original style to maybe fit better with what they want for DCU, and it won't seem as jarring because we've had this animated one in between.
Yes, exactly. So, next up, I'm going to have a moan.
Okay.
The Watchmen animated project has got its first trailer. It's going to be split up into part 1. I've got 2 things to moan about.
Mm-hmm.
Can we try adapting a new comic book story, please? Watchmen is getting its 3rd adaptation since 2009. In 2009, we got the Zack Snyder film. A couple of years ago, we got the HBO series, and now we're getting an animated project.
Forgot about the HBO series.
Like, I'm not being funny. In a world when in the last 6 years we've seen independent, not widely known comics, The Boys and Invincible, get turned into just phenomenons, why are you adapting the same story for a 3rd time in 15 years?
Is this a rights thing, do we think? Do they have the rights to this and they're not wanting to lose them or something?
Watchmen is just DC, I'm pretty sure. I might be smoking.
I don't know. I'm just this like.
I'm pretty sure Watchmen is just
because like
DC.
usually when things keep getting remade, it's a licensing thing and they're making sure to hold on to it.
Yeah, Watchmen's just a DC comic.
Oh,
so
okay.
that'd be crazy. The other thing, which is far more annoying,
Okay.
Schneider fucking cultists. They seem to think that Watchmen is an original Zack Snyder project.
Oh, because
Because he did the 2009 film. They don't seem to understand. Like they're putting the project and they're like, oh my god, why can't they ever just let him be? He's the blueprint. It's like, no, it's from a comic book.
Bruh. Honestly, the Snyder fans. I mean, Zack Snyder himself. This is like
help it.
This is a different thing, but did you see that they are now going to? He is releasing his versions of that Rebel Moon or whatever in its own 2 parts that are his cut, and it's like, oh, so now you're actually finally releasing the thing that you said you were going to release, and then you just did some weird ass release thing with that, like.
He said he was doing it with Netflix because they weren't going to interfere. They haven't interfered, so he released it a shit cut just so we could then release a director's cut.
Yes. Well, he's released a shit cut so he can then release the R-rated separately after promoting it as an R-rated Star Wars-esque world.
Like, it's crazy. I'm so glad he didn't get allowed to do a Star Wars project because the last thing, they're already in a bad spot.
I would then maybe have to side. I mean, I might have ended up siding with Star Wars fans for hating if they hated on him.
But could you imagine the Star Wars fandom with the already toxic fans plus Schneider cultists? Christ alive.